The Rough Country 3.5-inch suspension lift kit without upper control arms is a good choice for any 07 or newer four-wheel drive Silverado owner who's looking to increase their ground clearance a relatively mild amount in order to fit up to 33-inch tires safely with no rubbing. This kit here includes everything you need to get the truck in the air while maintaining your factory ride quality, and it even includes an upgraded set of rear shocks to improve your off-road experience even further. Now, it's an extremely affordable kit as well, coming in under the $300 mark, which is definitely going to be a plus. The installation will require some minor cutting and grinding in order to get done properly, but it's not the most difficult thing in the world. I'm giving it 2 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter, and I'll take you through it later on in the video. Now let's get some of the tough questions out of the way right off the bat. Now from the factory, your truck comes with 31-inch tires, which isn't a problem at all when throwing on a lift kit, obviously, but it can start to look a little goofy with the stock tires since they aren't very big. Now when lifting your truck at least 2 inches in the front, you'll be able to fit up to 33-inch tires safely under those square wheel wells without any rubbing, and more importantly, without any cutting or grinding. So with that said, adding the 3.5-inch suspension lift from Rough Country means you will absolutely be able to fit a set of 33s with no problems at all. Now some guys might be thinking they want 35s, in which case I would heavily recommend going for a much larger lift. Somewhere in the 6-inch region would leave you with minimal cutting to fit 35s without rubbing, but on a lift as minor as 3.5 inches, you would definitely run into some fitment issues with big 35s. Now as you can see here, my recommended 33s are the N2.0 Mud Grappler Mud Terrain 33 by 12.5-inch tires, wrapped around a 17 by 8.5-inch fuel Anza wheel with a negative 6mm offset. Obviously, choosing different size wheels and different offsets will change things up a bit, but unless you go with an insane width or an insane offset, you won't have a problem with this. Rough Country takes the bare essentials you need to lift your truck properly and just throws in a little bit extra with the added shocks. Now the bare essentials will include your upper strut spacers, 3-inch fabricated lift blocks for the rear, differential drop spacers to keep your proper axle angles, a differential skid plate for protection, along with the necessary hardware. Keep in mind the truck already comes from the factory with 1.5 to 2 inches of rake, meaning the front end sits much lower than the rear in order to counter any cargo or trailer weight when towing or hauling. Because of that, the rear blocks are only 3 inches of lift, while the front is 3.5 inches in order to level out just a little bit more the front and the rear to get rid of the factory rake. Now a lot of guys, including myself, aren't super crazy about the uneven look the factory rake adds, so this is a plus for people like me. Now if you want the look but you find yourself towing and hauling a lot, keep in mind your rear may sag down just a little bit lower now that the truck doesn't have that counteracting rake. The big advantage with a lift kit like this is that it does increase your ground clearance with a suspension lift, which will improve your overall off-roading experience if you hit the trails with your truck. Now you have an additional 3.5 inches of clearance to tackle bigger obstacles like rocks and logs, which you previously wouldn't be able to make it over. I personally took my own 2016 Silverado on the trails, and there really is a pretty severe limitation with the stock height. That additional 3.5 inches will help out a lot and make off-roading a lot more enjoyable. To take that even further, Rough Country includes their N2.0 Series shock absorbers, which have a velocity-sensitive valving technology that keeps the ride super smooth on the highway while handling with improved control on the off-road situations. No need for adjustments or swaps. Now it includes a 10-stage variable valving with nitrogen charge up to 200 psi to prevent foaming for a longer lifespan. Now it's got a larger 1 3/8 inch bore and a chrome-hardened 9/16 piston rod, spring-loaded piston rod seal, military spec fluid rated to negative 50 degrees Celsius, rubber bushings for better absorption, and finally, a silver powder-coated finish. To top it all off, this is covered by Rough Country's 3-year manufacturer warranty. Now if you're interested, you can pick up this whole entire kit for just under the $300 mark, which is absolutely one of the more affordable ends of the spectrum. Now lift kits can reach up to $2,500 and beyond for the all-inclusive ones. This one here is, like I said earlier, just going to keep the price down with a very entry-level kit with just the added shocks for a nice ride comfort. The installation does require some cutting and grinding in order to provide the proper clearance for the included parts, but it's nothing you can't do with the proper tools. Now you want to have a ratchet and socket set with an 11, 15, 18, and 21mm socket along with a 10mm wrench, and of course a jack and jack stands or a lift and pull jack if you have access to one. Now you want a die grinder on hand as well for the modifications, and because of that I'm giving it 2 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter to take you about 3 to 4 hours from start to finish. First you need to lift up the front end, support the weight, and remove the wheels and tires. Remove the 6 bolts holding the factory skid plate on with a 15mm and unplug the connectors. Use a 21mm to remove the tie rod nut and a mallet or hammer to knock the tie rod end loose, then remove the knuckle. The brake line bracket comes off with a 10mm wrench, then remove the sensor wire and ABS sensor. The sway bar end link is next with a 15mm socket and wrench, then put the jack stand under the knuckle to support it and remove the upper ball joint with an 18mm. Hit the knuckle again with a mallet or hammer to dislodge the ball joint and separate the upper control arm. With an 18mm, remove the upper strut nuts, then use a 15mm to remove the 2 bolts connecting the lower strut mount to the lower control arm, then remove the strut assembly from your truck. With an 18mm socket and wrench, remove the 4 bolts holding on the factory crossmember. With a jack stand supporting the front diff, remove the diff mounting bolts holding it to the frame with a 15 and 18mm wrench. Lower the jack stand that's underneath the diff down just enough to slide the 2 aluminum differential drop spacers into place with the supplied hardware. Tighten it down with a 16 and 18mm socket and wrench, then install the 1-inch aluminum spacers in the rear diff mounts using the same tools. Now here's where you want to be extra cautious. On the driver's side of the factory crossmember, measure from the end of the tube and make a mark at 4.5 inches and again at 8 inches on the front side. Measure a 1/4 inch from the bottom and 2 inches from the back side and mark it. This is where the die grinder comes out and you'll cut across the marks, which is pictured for you in the instructions. Now remember to measure at least twice and cut once. You'll then need to grind down the cooling fins on the differential housing. Hold the crossmember into place and check the clearance between the crossmember and the front diff and bolt it down with an 18mm. Assemble the strut spacer properly on a table with the supplied hardware, then install the assembly on the factory mount with a 17mm. Make sure a locking washer is installed between the nut and the regular washer on the studs. From here you'll need to cut the bump stop from the upper control arm mount on both sides with a reciprocating saw, then it's a good idea to grind it down and paint it so it doesn't rust and corrode with the exposed metal. From here you can install the strut and lower control arm, and with this you might need to jack up the lower control arm to align them properly. Reinstall the sway bar on the lower control arm with a 15mm, then the knuckle to the upper control arm. Make sure you torque the castle nut to 50 foot-pounds and do not over-torque it. Reinstall the tie rod end into the knuckle finally with a 21mm, then you can install the skid plate under the differential using the factory locations and a 15mm, reconnect the wires you originally disconnected, throw the wheels back on, and now you can move on to the rear. The rear will start off with you chocking the front wheels, jack up the differential and the rear of the truck, then remove the wheels and tires. Remove the factory shocks with a 21mm wrench and socket, then remove the factory U-bolts and blocks. Lower the axle down with the jack enough to install the new 3-inch rough country blocks. Jack up the axle to meet the springs and align the center pin, then with the jack apply pressure to the rear axle to keep the pin aligned. You can install the new extended U-bolts here and then the new N2.0 shocks, throw the wheels back on and you're good to go. You want to look into taking your truck to get an alignment, since obviously we mess with the control arms. Just to be safe, it's definitely a good thing to do. Well, that just about wraps this one up, so if you're the owner of a 2007 or newer Silverado, you might want to check out the Rough Country 3.5-inch suspension lift kit, which you can find right here at AmericanTrucks.com.